Oh man, that was not good. That was not good at all. The plot of this movie was silly and absolutely ridiculous. The pacing was a super roller coaster. The characters barely got any type of development. I mean, when I saw the movie trailer, I was so excited to see it. And now that I have, honestly, this movie underperformed and fell completely flat. But enough about Suicide Squad Part 1. Let's talk about the brand new James Gunn The Suicide Squad Part 2, baby! I got you, hey-oh! I got you at the beginning. David Ayer, please don't kill me. Anyway, are you guys ready to talk about James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, which is the sequel slash spin-off slash reboot? This movie is so good, and honestly might be the best DCEU film they have, and the critics seem to agree. It might honestly be in one of my top favorite comic book movies. But we have so much to talk about and very little time. So without further ado, I'm Hollywood Mock Chow with Mock Chow TV. Are you guys ready to talk about the masterpiece that is James Gunn's The Suicide Squad? Pew, pew, pew. I'm about to take off the rocket launcher. Play the long intro, baby! Alright, let's go ahead and talk about this amazing movie, because this movie exceeded all my expectations, totally blew me away, and I'm someone who's not easily amused. Hey, check it out, a brown dog! Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about my rating for this film. So, out of a rating system of 1 to 5, 5 being the absolute best, 1 being an absolute pooper, I get James Gunn, The Suicide Squad Part 2, a score of 5 out of 5! Woo! He did it! James Gunn did it! Celebration crime, come on! Celebrate. I know that's not the lyrics and I know I said crime, but it does have to deal with villains and I didn't want to get a music copyright strike. Anyway, so this movie was that good. So, for those of you who have not seen this movie, let's go ahead and dive straight into my non-spoiler overall. So, first of all, this movie was 110% better than the previous. I felt like James Gunn really fixed a lot of the issues they had with the previous film. Next, this was the best DCEU film that they've had. And the numbers don't lie. As of right now, I'm recording this a day after the movie came out, it has an impressive 93% approval rating on RottenTomatoes.com. That currently ties Wonder Woman with the best, highest rated critic DCU film of all time. Next, the actors and the chemistry they had. The actors that they brought in to take over the Suicide Squad, because barely any actors returned, and it makes sense because Suicide Squad is about a rotation of characters. Some characters weren't even in the movie for that long. We'll talk about that later on. Next, the chemistry they had was really, really great. The actors had chemistry, and the characters in the movie had chemistry. That's another thing I think they improved on from the previous movie. In the previous movie, it was like these were villains who were basically shoved together to work a mission. The characters felt like they bonded with each other and they grew with each other, which is something that's great in a story that's told with an ensemble cast. Next, this was a great mixture of action, comedy, and drama. James Gunn is wonderful in bringing out all of these emotions, all of these genres, and if you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy, you know what I'm talking about. Lastly, this movie wanted me craving more. Literally, at the end of this movie, I was like, oh man, is it really over? They better do a freaking sequel. Give me the freaking sequel. I want more sequels. Give me it. Give me it. So if you can get that type of response from me and the fans, you know you have something special. So please get the sequel out as soon as possible. That is it for my overall in my non-spoilers. A 5 out of 5. Do I recommend this? Heck yeah. This movie was so good, I would actually go watch it again. I'm definitely gonna get the 4K Blu-ray release. So go and watch this movie if you haven't. If you have, let's go ahead and transition into the next part. Let's get into my full-on spoilers. So, spoiler warning. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Let's talk about the good and the bad, because the bad has barely any. Maybe just one, but that's a nitpick. So the good was the actors did great. Idris Elba was originally brought in to replace Will Smith, but I get a feeling that they think Will Smith might come back, so they ended up having him play a similar character. But he did such a great job. John Cena plays such a douche character, but that's what the character's supposed to be. He was very funny, I'm very glad that he's going to get his own show. A little about that later on when we talk about the future. And also the rest of the characters were great. I mean, he has freaking Sylvester Stallone portraying a freaking talking shark, so that's wonderful. Next, the plot was good. So the plot was very straightforward. These guys know their mission, they know what they're getting into, and there's a little bit of a twist, but it's a good twist. It doesn't get too crazy. Next, the visuals were great. The CGI was great on the villain. Great CGI on King Shark. The explosions were great, and I mean, if you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy, sorry to repeat myself, great visuals there, great visuals here. Next, great development. So, like I said, something that the other film did wrong that this one did right was great developments for the characters. In a point where when the characters got killed off, I was like, no, why did they kill off that character? I was very disappointed when Rick Flag got killed off because some development for that character is a complete 180. In the previous movie, his character was a no-nonsense captain. He didn't care about his teammates. In this one, complete 180. Rick Flag, played great by Joel Kinnaman. He cared for his teammates. He was a lot more funnier. He had personality. When he got killed off, I was so devastated. I really was. I was not expecting him to die. Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn gets more play in here, and I felt like it's a great development. The other movie, she was like just there to craze after the Joker. Got very little development, even though she was a standout of the film. Here, it was greatly developed. She does have another romantic arc with this evil general, but it only lasted only a couple of minutes. She ends up killing him, and she basically says, I'm never gonna fall in love with someone who's gonna do bad things, and that's great development for her character. James Gunn, I seriously believe, watched the previous movie, saw what they did wrong, and course corrected and fixed a lot of the issues with the previous movies. Let's get to the bad. This is more of a nitpick. It was not a deal breaker, but I felt like the villains was too much, and they didn't get too much development. There's so many villains in this movie. There was maybe 4. So there was Starro, the alien creature who looks like a starfish, who can attach itself to a host and brainwash them and control their body. There's this evil general that's trying to take over this foreign country, who's a nobody. There's also the Thinker, who's a pretty big villain. He didn't get much development in this movie, which he should have gotten a lot more of. And Amanda Waller, you would classify her as kind of a bad guy because she is an absolute a-hole to the rest of the characters. So I felt like there were a lot of villains and they didn't get a lot of development. If you would have just shortened the villains, take out the evil general, just have Starro and the Thinker and give them more development, that would have been a lot better. All right, let's go ahead and get into some of my notes. I'm gonna go over them quite fast because I don't want this to be a long video, even though this was a fantastic movie. First of all, let's talk about the deaths. There were so many deaths in this film. 90% of the Suicide Squad got killed off. And the funny thing is, the 90% that got killed off the first 10 minutes of the film. It was so funny. But they did have a huge team. In fact, there's this famous magazine cover that has the entire cast of the Suicide Squad. Future me, when you're editing this video, put up that magazine cover and put who gets killed off. James Gunn once said that the people at Warner Brothers said he could kill off whoever he wanted, and man, he went to town. James Gunn killed off so many characters and so many characters from the previous film. It was fair game on everyone in this film. Next, there was a lot of blood and gore in this film. So much blood and gore. This might be the most bloodiest and goriest comic book film I've seen, but they do it in a tasteful way that's more comedic more than anything else. Next, this was seriously felt like a complete reboot of the previous film. It's like the other film didn't exist. They loosely kind of insinuated because Harley Quinn does know who Captain Boomerang is. Captain Boomerang knows who Rick Flag is. So they kind of insinuated by that, but they don't actually verbally or show you anything that happened in the previous film at all. And another thing about that is none of the characters from the previous movie who survived, they don't talk about their whereabouts at all. So if you're wondering if they even mention the characters, they don't. They don't mention anything about Will Smith's Deadshot. They don't mention anything about Karen Fukuhara's Katana character. They don't mention anything about Killer Croc. In my personal opinion, I think if you just mention the fact that, oh, maybe Deadshot had served his sentence and he had left prison, or you can even have a cell door that says Killer Croc. You don't have to show him, but but just to have a name tag on a door that says Killer Croc, that would have been perfectly fine. Next, there is no connection to the greater DCEU film. How the previous film had Ezra Miller's Flash and Ben Affleck's Batman appear in the actual movie, this one, no other superheroes appear in this film. And the only reference they make is a kind of loose off-the-cuff mention that Amanda Waller says that Idris Elba's character Bloodsport is in prison because he had put Superman in the hospital after shooting a kryptonite bullet. Other than that, no other reference. And other than that, let's talk about the after credit scene because there is two. So the first one is the first character of Suicide Squad that gets killed off, Weasel. He's a giant weasel, literally like that. He's the first one to get killed off because he drowns. He doesn't even make it to the island. You find out that that character is actually, he did not drown and he's actually still alive. That creature just runs along the beach. That's it. I think it's just a funny after credit scene. I don't think it leads to anything big. But the big one would have to be John Cena's Peacemaker. At the end of the movie, you see a couple of Amanda Waller's workers. They're in a hospital. They find out that John Cena's character not dead, and they pretty much set up his TV show. So Peacemaker, John Cena, is not dead. Let's go ahead and transition. That's excellent transition to my next thing. Let's talk about the future of this franchise. So first of all, we get the Peacemaker HBO Max TV series starring John Cena coming back to reprise the role. We get a confirmed 8 episodes. James Gunn has said he's written all 8 episodes and he's coming back to direct 5 out of the 8 episodes. That's great. I hope they do John Cena and give him a Loki redemption story. You know, John Cena's character Peacemaker might be regarded as a bad guy. He does kill Rick Flag, but he does it because that's his mission. He's a guy who he verbally says in the movie, he achieves peace at any means necessary and he's willing to kill women and children to achieve it. But I hope he has a change of heart. I hope he loses his memory, honestly, because he got shot in the neck. He got a whole bunch of a building dropped on him. Maybe he gets amnesia and he forgets who he is. So if he redeems himself, that could be a good captain for the new Suicide Squad. And speaking of the new Suicide Squad, will there be a sequel? Well, the president of DC Films thinks so. So Walter Yamada, he said and confirmed that James Gunn will be back for several DC properties. So it could be another Suicide Squad sequel, which I would love for him to do, or it could be anything else. You know what would be great? Booster Gold. That character is so ridiculous and he is such an idiot. It would be so great for James Gunn. So James Gunn, do the Booster Gold movie. All right, so there you go. That's the future of the franchise. We got the John Cena Peacemaker TV show on HBO Max, which is confirmed, coming out in January 2022. And we also have the president of DC Film, Walter Yamada, confirming that James Gunn will be back for several DC properties. So everyone, that will go ahead and do it for this review. I love this movie so much. Give me more, please. You want to know when videos get dropped? I drop videos every single week, and you won't know that unless you follow and subscribe. So other than that, thank you so much. Go watch this movie if you haven't, and if you have, go watch it again, because I will. Thank you so much. Once again, much love, and I'll see you later. Mwah.